This episode brought to you by Bass Bus. When your little guppies really have to get to school. See what I did there?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I do. Get it?
No.
Hello everybody, it is LE Diecast. I have Andrew here today.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking about our 5 favorite muscle cars from the 70s. I was nominated by Champion DJK to talk about my 5 favorites. Now, all of these aren't going to probably be a surprise to anybody that's watched the show, but well, I don't know, maybe the order will be a surprise. And as you can see, the cars I got there, well, those aren't 70s cars. The Thunderbolt was in my list until it dawned on me that that's not technically a 70s car. I'm sure you would have seen a few of them driving around in the 70s, but probably not close enough to the 70s to qualify for it. So I was all ready to talk about the Thunderbolt, but Thunderbolt is out. I really like that one. If you watched my favorite castings, I think there was a Thunderbolt in that group. The cars that barely missed my cut, though, were the 69 Mercury Cyclone. And I know that's not 70s, but, well, these were driving around in the 70s. They were sold in the winter of 1970 or the spring of 1970. Well, you know that's foreshadowing another car that we're going to see. But that is the Cyclone. That did not make my list. That would have probably been 7th. And 6th on my list would have been the 69 or 67 Dodge Charger, and I figured that was probably close enough to qualify. 70s, we would have associated that car with the 70s, so those did not make the list. So let's get on to the cars that made the list. Okay, number 5 on my 5 favorite muscle cars. Now, some of you are going to disqualify this one as a muscle car, the Maverick, the 71 Maverick. And I put this on my list because I had one of these in high school. It was actually handed down to me by my older brother. It was blue. It was not this blue. It was a dark blue, and it didn't have a cool racing stripe, and it really wasn't much of a muscle car. But the Maverick came along at the very end of that era, where they really started. U.S. automakers weren't making great cars by this point. So the 71 Maverick Grabber makes my list, whether you consider it a muscle car or not. There's the blue variation. There was a red variation on that. It was a super treasure hunt, which I do have, but could not dig up. There's the green variation. It was super treasure hunt, I think, in 2012. Maybe 13, I don't remember. There's another one. I don't ever remember any of them having that cool colors on them. But I got some good memories from high school from my Maverick. They also do not make a lot of variations on the Maverick. I have a few others, couldn't find them, but not a lot. Number 4 on our list. This one should be no surprise. And as soon as you see this one, I bet some of you can figure out what the top 3 are. And that is the 70 Charger Daytona, and we'll zoom in on that one a little bit. There we go. Love the big wings, and boy, we've got a lot of these. A lot of variations on this one. Also, I should qualify that some of my cars were technically, they were essentially the same car by different manufacturers, so I made my own rules. There's the wheel variation on that red one. And that one was the final run. A few more Charger Daytonas. I really like the 70 Charger Daytona. I really like that big old front end. It doesn't look like a lot of the other Chargers. And if you know the history on this one, a lot of stock car racing history behind why this car looks the way it does and why it was popular. There's another variation on that red one with the gold spokes. All right, next on my list is essentially the same car as that Charger Daytona, and that is the 70 Superbird. I bet a lot of you thought that one might be number one, but there are two other cars that make perfect sense for number one here. Very hard to choose. Essentially, my top three are my three favorite castings, I think. But yeah, the Superbird, the giant old Superbird. If I could buy one car, it would be one of these top three. But that is the what was this one? I don't even remember what that series was, but 70 Plymouth Superbird, built off the same design as the Charger. And I don't have the history written here, but basically they only released 1 year of the Superbird, and it was released on the lots. So that giant wing there, that you could buy that off the lots. There were not a lot of them made, and they're very rare today in stock condition. They go for a lot of money. Would have been a hard car probably to drive around on the street at the time. But they made them so they would qualify for stock car racing. I think. You guys can correct me. I've just dabbled in the history. So a few more variations on that. There are a lot of these, and I have a lot more of these. I just wasn't going to dig around in the loose cars because they're under S, and that's one of our biggest bins to dig around in. So look at that front end on this one. You can really see it there in the art. Big old giant front end. They had the flip-up headlights on them. Those headlights are like 10 feet away from the driver. These are just massive cars. There is a lot of volume in those cars. And that wing was partially at that height, not necessarily for aerodynamics, but so the trunk would open. Believe it or not. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that on Meacham Auto Auctions one day. So there's our last Plymouth Superbird, number 3. Number 2, another one that I doubt will be a surprise for those that have been watching the show. You know that I do a lot of customs of this car. I've also recommended it as the car I think is perfect to start customizing because it's so easy to use with the wheelbase and all. And that is the AAR CUDA Plymouth 1970 AAR CUDA, and there is that obvious logo, that kind of checkerboard stripe that you would see on these CUDAs. I've also tried recreating that with waterside tampos and have not been able to really do it. It's too tight of a pattern. That's one of my favorite ones, that black and white one from 2002, I believe that is. We also got some loose ones here. Point this downward. These are all in plastic, but you'll get the idea. Got some purple ones, pink ones. We got that silver one, not a Zamax, but that silver one. Here's a green one. Another purple one. Here's a different purple one. That's the variation on that green one. And this is a lot of people's favorite, and that is the Falcon in the blue coloring. So what would be number 1 on our list? I would be ashamed to call you a fan of the show if you did not guess that. Knowing that the Superbird and the AAR CUDA are already off the board, you've heard it a million times. My favorite casting of all time is the '69 Ford Torino, and that was long before it suddenly got popular here with the 76 logo. Technically, it's the 69 Ford Torino Talladega, and this had the back end, and now I'm forgetting the back end. Was it the, it wasn't the sports package, the speed package, sports package? Anyways, it's that big, long, sloping back end, which was a real variation on this car, on the Talladega. And the other Torino models are not particularly my favorite. I don't really like the way they look. I just really like the way that big, long, sloping back end is on these. Another car that I use a lot for customizing. There's the newest one that had been getting quite a bit of attention. In fact, I was not able to even find one of those until about a week ago. And we picked up a few more for customizing. The only car that I picked up more than one of, I think. But that one is the newest one out, probably on the shelf right now at your local Target, Walmart. There's another variation. Or did we see that one already? I think we saw that one already. I don't remember now. A short memory. Got some Lucy's too. It came in the silver. That was not a Zamac, I don't believe. That came out, I believe, last year. This one is one of my favorites, although not my favorite. This group here also includes my favorite car, mainline, I guess we should say. My favorite mainline car of all time. We'll finish with that one. But all of these would probably be in my top 100. There's that gold with the black and white stripes. Another silver one. There is the red with the yellow and white stripes. Really nice cars. And we even have one that is sitting over here being ready to go for customizing. That is the next one we're probably going to be working on. Just to prove we do have a lot of parts of these guys laying around. And my favorite Torino Talladega of all time, my number one muscle car from the 70s casting. Here, we'll take it out of the plastic because it's so special. Is this one here. That is probably my favorite mainline of all time. And this one was, I want to say 2012. I think 2012. Really like that one. In fact, I like that one so much we've never taken the paint off one for customizing. We use other ones. So that will do it for my favorite 1970s castings of all time. And yeah, I know some of those were technically not 1970. In fact, I think all of them were right at the beginning of the 70s or in 69. And yeah, I know Cyclones and Torinos are basically the same car, and Superbirds and the Chargers from 1970, 69 were basically the same car. But I made my own rules. So that'll do it for this one. Thank you to Champion DJK for nominating us, and we'll see you in the next one.